Good evening, everybody. I am now live on my Facebook page, I hope. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Lean with Leanne Confessions of a Diet Queen podcast from my dining room. Thanks, COVID. I am super excited to be launching this project today. As a great way to bring loads of insane guests on and talk about all aspects of physical, mental health, and everything that's going on in the world. And I am super excited to be starting with an absolutely epic guest today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you award-winning barber, public speaker, author, and founder of the Lions Barber Collective, Mr. Tom Chapman. Let me get him in. Here he is. Hello.
Hiya, you all right?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Brilliant, thank you. Brilliant. And, making the most of lockdown.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is lockdown life treating you at the moment?
To be honest with you, it's actually been, for me, it's been okay. Do you know what? I can't complain. There's been moments, I think, where my mental health has been low, but actually, I haven't had to travel around the world. I haven't been stuck in an airport by myself in the middle of, I don't know, Milwaukee or something by myself and no, delay, 7-hour delay with no Wi-Fi and no charger or something. I'm actually at home with my family. I can concentrate on the charity. I've had a really productive year. So although I feel a little bit guilty sometimes when people say, how's lockdown been? I've actually enjoyed being at home. I've just made the most of it,
That's brilliant to hear, because I think it's one of those situations in that it's so strange. I think you can either survive or thrive, and for me as well, it's actually, the first lockdown anyway allowed me to reflect a little bit on business and how to move forward. So do you want to give our viewers a little introduction to yourself and what you do? That would be great.
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, so I'm a hairdresser predominantly, originally, and barber. I had a salon in Torquay from 2011 till 2018, I think it was. With that side of things, the hair side of things, I'm a global barber director for a hair cosmetic company called Kuhn. I am also an international educator for a hair tool company called JRL. Which are based in Florida, just north of Miami, which is really nice.
Wow.
To go there and visit them. That's the only thing I've missed, visiting them. And then outside of that, I started the Lions Barber Collective in 2015 after losing a lad who was a friend of mine from Torquay in 2014 to suicide. And then that developed and became a fully fledged charity. And we raise awareness for men's mental health and suicide prevention. And also in the last couple of years, I've become an author. I've got 2 books out. I've got a children's book coming out this year, which is really exciting. And then I signed a deal for my third adult, I wasn't just going to say proper book, adult book, I'll say, which is going to be coming out probably 2022. So I'm in the middle of typing frantically to try and get all my word counts and things up for my deadlines.
Wow, so not much then. Crikey.
Not much at all.
Unbelievable. Yeah. That is insane amount of projects and things going on. So I want to get into, obviously, as you spoke about, one of your friends committed suicide, and I want to talk about that and how that was a defining moment in you moving forward with your Lions Barber Collective and how that kind of came about.
Yeah, well, I mean, we lost Alex to suicide. I'll say he was the first person that was really taken from me, because I'd lost people before, but it was grandparents, people who had been sick. So it was kind of like it's expected. Whereas Alex, I'd seen him days before. I didn't know anything was going on. I didn't realize anything was wrong. And that's why I felt like he was kind of taken from us, because he was only 27. And I remember being at the funeral, and we're at the crematorium in Torquay, and I was one of the first, probably, 5 or 6 that couldn't get a seat. So we were ushered right down to the front, and we were actually right next to him, looking back at the crowd, which was a really weird position to be in when at a funeral or a wedding or anything like that, normally you're looking at the back of people's heads, and it's quite a lonely experience. It's you experiencing it. But I was stood there and I was just looking at this full room at the crematorium of all the different faces, all the sadness, all the loss, all the tears. And I just thought, oh, how can this happen to somebody who has this many people around him? And then we went to the wake. Remember when we used to be able to go to wakes and hang out with people and go to the pub? It seems like forever ago, doesn't it?
I know.
We were at the wake, and I was talking to the lads there and just saying that we need to do something. Something needs to change here, really. We need to, something needs to happen. But then it went on about a year, and I had my salon. I was really busy, and I thought about doing a project, and I wanted to do a one-off project where I got a load of haircut images from a load of professionals that I know, make it into a book, and it'd be like that sort of like catalogue of haircuts. When you go into a hair salon or a barber shop, men could have a look through it and find a haircut they like. It was going to raise money for charity. And one of the guys in the group mentioned suicide prevention, and I was just like, how did I not think about that? How did I not think about that as a charity? Yeah, light bulb moment, exactly that. And I just thought, well, if I've been affected by it, and I have no idea about any resources that are out there, then that's what we've got to do it for. Because we lost Alex because he didn't know where to turn, and the people around him didn't know where to turn. So that's why we did it. And then it evolved very quickly into something much bigger than that. And I've been chasing that beast ever since, trying to catch up with it. It's just keep running away from me all the time.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a pivotal moment to give you a real mission statement and a real purpose for your charity and what you have achieved so far. I rewatched yesterday as a little bit of marketing research, shall we say, your documentary, the £1.7 million haircut, which is available to watch on Amazon Prime, and I would highly recommend watching it because it's an unbelievable documentary. How did that sort of come about? Was it like your idea, or did someone approach you?
With the documentary, so that was a really weird one, because I had lots. The Lions Barber Collective, ever since we started, our first day that we announced, so everything with the Lions Barber Collective kind of just happened. It's been really weird. I obviously have pushed it, but I haven't had to fight anybody for the idea. The idea's been accepted, and people have taken it on every time I've mentioned it to them. But from the very beginning, we had not decided we were going to do suicide prevention, and then we found out we were going to launch, and we found out the 10th of September was Suicide Prevention Day. So it was like, that was just meant to be. I didn't even know there was a World Suicide Prevention Day. And then I got a phone call from a guy who was a journalist for the Telegraph, and he said, "Oh, can I do an interview with you?" So our first ever piece of press was in the Telegraph, and we've had lots of interest ever since. So I've done bits for TV. I've had production companies get involved. We went and we filmed pilots for potential reality Lions Barber TV shows. We've done lots and lots of stuff, and things have sort of come back to us, and nothing's ever been. I mean, with television, like it's wild. Nothing ever's happened until it's definitely happened. But we had lots of interest in these production companies, and I was talking to the guys who made our training videos about it, and I was saying there were a couple of them, but when we were talking about the ideas, it was very. You had no control over how the documentary was going to, what the story was going to be, and they wanted a lot of the time they wanted to try and make it into like a reality TV show of confessions in the barber chair and all this kind of stuff. And I thought that's not really what I want to message I want to put out there, although it would be raising awareness. So the guys mentioned it to me who did our training videos, and I thought, oh well, yeah. Perhaps we could do one. And they said, well, yeah, we could definitely film something. We could make a documentary, because they had worked on documentaries in the past. So it was kind of one that we put together with this and got it put on Amazon. And it was really nice because we had a bit of creative control over the story, and we were able to tell the story of Paul and tell the story about Alex and tell the story of the Lions Barber Collective honestly, it was, just completely bare bones.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I watched it the first time anyway, but watching it back again, I just thought it was just such a phenomenal piece of informative documentary and really heartfelt and so authentic. It was so good. And I just took a few things out of the documentary that I wanted to ask you about. You talk about, you returned to work so early after your friend had passed away. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that going back to your job and being able to talk to your clients and the people whose hair you're cutting, do you think that really helped you kind of process what was going on and how you were feeling about the situation?
Definitely. That was, I think, looking back at it, I went down because I lived above the salon at the time. I hadn't had much sleep, and I was sat there, and I think it was kind of a bit of a work ethic from my parents. Like, oh, I've got to get on and get on with work. I always felt that people booked in to see me, and if I wasn't sick, I let down like 12 people that day and ruined their days. They could have been having a haircut for this or that, or whatever. And I felt a sense of responsibility, but that's what I felt at the time. I should go and see them. I got to go and cut their hair. I could physically go and do it, so I should do it. But actually, looking back at it now, I think it was a really great thing for me, because all my clients are my friends. You build up this relationship with your clients when you're cutting their hair. You get to know them really well. It was just a really good experience all day, just talking to them about what had happened. And it didn't change anything. It didn't bring Alex back, but I felt better at the end of the day because I had got it out of here and I verbalized it, and I've had those conversations with people rather than sitting upstairs in my apartment or flat, whatever you want to call it, just wallowing in thoughts of why didn't I do this? Why didn't he say that? What could I have done better? And in fact, it was a little bit of sort of mental cleansing for me, having those conversations, which I think is so important.
Yeah, 100%. Is that sort of like one of the moments that you realized that communication between people and that relationship was something that you could use to your advantage to help other people?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it works both ways. It's a conversation. I think the relationship between the barber or hairdresser and their client is a really unique one. It works both ways. It's because there's a level of trust there. You have to trust that person to be able to cut your hair and make you look good, or put color, chemicals on your hair, do all these, you have that trust, you have that intimacy where you have human contact and you're touching people, which is happening less and less, especially now where you can't even go anywhere near anybody. So I think just that relationship you have is so intimate and so close, yet you're not actually in their friendship circle. You're not actually part of their group. So they have that sort of like little bit of disconnect where you know that if you tell them something, it doesn't go back to anybody. It doesn't really impact your life outside of that moment. It's quite a freedom of speech, quite a free feeling.
Yeah, it feels like it's quite a safe relationship to be able to share with. On the note of barber, I have what is potentially a very stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is the difference?
No stupid questions.
Yeah, that's true. What is the difference between a barber and a hairdresser? Is it just a case of one cuts boys' hair, one cuts girls' hair, or is there a little bit more intricacy to it?
So I suppose the technical difference is essentially that barbers will work more with shorter hairstyles, and they'll use clippers, and they'll do graded haircuts and very short textured haircuts. Plus, they also use shave. So they do shaving, they use cutthroat razors, things like that. Whereas a hairdresser is more feminine haircut, shall we say. There isn't, nowadays there's more and more so you're seeing the different, like, genders just going into different haircuts. I think now in the hair world, we're in a space where anything goes, which I think is absolutely fantastic. If you look back at the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you could see, if you look at a picture of a haircut, you know what era it's from. Whereas now, I think literally guys have got shaved heads, long hair, curtains, like 50s rockabilly haircuts, literally every skin fades, all sorts of stuff. And I think that's really amazing now that the boundaries are blurring between hairdresser and barber, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because I feel like hair now is such like an expression of emotion and personality. And I think it's so cool. And it's a friggin' art form. Like, honestly, Tom, if you could see my husband's hair right now, you would be mortified with me. He asked me to cut his hair for lockdown, and he gave me the clippers, and he'll never give them to me again. So,
I actually literally just wrote a little really simple step-by-step for a lockdown haircut for the guys at Man vs. Fat. Have you heard of them before?
No.
Yeah, so like So, no, you haven't heard of Man vs. Fat. So that basically what Man vs. Fat is it's based around football, and they have football teams of overweight guys get together and they create a team. They have leagues. They've got like 80 leagues across the country. It's associated with the FA and all sorts of stuff. But it's basically a way of getting blokes together, getting them fit, playing football, and building a sort of support group around them. But we've been doing some work with them, and hopefully we'll be doing some work with them this year when we're allowed to go back outside and see people and cut hair and things.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. And like maybe whack a how to cut your hair at home Instagram video up, because I definitely can't do it. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Lions Barber Collective and what it entails and how it went from being an idea to this massive charity?
I wouldn't go as far as massive, but it's a lot bigger than I ever expected it would be. So it was meant to be a one-off project. And then I noticed very quickly about the relationship, like we talked about earlier. And what if we could train barbers and hairdressers to have these conversations, which we're having anyway? You know, when you're doing your hair qualification, you do a whole section on physical health and safety. You learn about ringworm, psoriasis, all those kinds of things, head lice. And I've been in the hair industry for about 18 years now, and I've never, ever really seen many of those things. I've probably seen psoriasis a bit, head lice a few times on kids. But we're dealing with people's mental health every single day. People are sat in the chairs and they're telling us about stuff. We're there for the big parts of their lives. We're there for their first dates. We're there for when they get their haircut before they go and get engaged or propose, or they get their haircut for their weddings, christenings, funerals. We're here at all these really big emotional high points of people's lives. So we're having these conversations. I thought, well, what if we could train barbers as well? And it just kind of grew, to be honest with you. So the idea of training barbers, we developed that. And it's just been, like I said, I never had to push it. It's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster. There's been lots of I've had to dedicate my life to it, really. I sold the salon. My accountants and my parents thought I was mad because, I gave up something that had the income to do something that was completely voluntary. Luckily, I had my global barber director stuff where I was traveling, and I could go away and work for a week and make a month's income. So the other 3 weeks I could donate completely to the charity. So it's a case of time, hard work, building up networks, just pushing yourself out there all the time, and just really, really hard promoting yourself. There's a lot of stuff I've had to learn because I'm a hairdresser, barber, and now I'm CEO of a charity, and I've had to learn how to use Excel spreadsheets, learn how to create, which is not my forte at all, my strong suit. Learn how to write policies, governance, how to write a constitution, how to get a board of trustees together, marketing, PR. There's loads of stuff, and we've come to a point now where this last year, 2020, we've actually worked with Devon Public Health. We've worked with the NHS. We've worked with Health Education England. We've got some great things coming up with Network Rail, and I think it's about just putting ourselves out there and proving that it's a simple idea that most people can relate to, because most people can have a haircut, and most people have probably told their hairdresser or barber something that they can relate to telling their barber or hairdresser something and leaning on them a little bit. So it's a simple idea, and we've just had to work hard at it and push it and push it and push it and push it. And there's been points where I've nearly given up, to be honest with you. There's been points where I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It's not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
But it's become a purpose. It's bigger than me, and I want it to come to a point where it's Tom Chapman's not going to be around forever. So I want to continue. It's going to continue. That's the plan, to get that legacy and sustainability in there. Yeah.
That was one of my questions, was given the fact that it is a charity, and that obviously means that you are working on a voluntary basis, and all the aspects that go into building a charity and the awareness, what have you had to sacrifice? I mean, like you say, you had to give up your shop and your main income, and obviously family man. Like, what did you have to sacrifice in order to help grow this charity?
There's been a lot of sacrifices. They're mostly, time, late nights working. When I had the salon, I had other things going on as well. I was doing that and this, and I've got a young family, so there have been times I've had to give up stuff. And And I've been really, really lucky because my wife is really understanding and really believes in what we're doing. And I've had that support, because without the support from her and the support from my family, there's no way I could have got through it all. And it's been almost a bit isolating as well, a bit lonely in that sense sometimes, because I've just focused so much on this and helping all these other people and helping set up things and and because I don't have a team around me as yet. We've got a few people that volunteer that are absolutely fantastic. It can be quite lonely in that sense as well. I sold my salon, obviously, like I said, and there's different roles that I probably could have been putting more money in my pocket, I suppose, in a financial sense with hairdressing and barbering and what have you. But at the end of the day, it's got to a point now where the trustees have decided that I can get paid to be a CEO of the charity now, so that I can live and I can feed the kids. And that means that I can focus on this more, which is absolutely an amazing level to get to. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing level to get to. The fact that this has become a point where I can do this. My everyday work is making a difference to people and saving people's lives and training barbers and encouraging great conversations and making a difference. I mean, there's literally nothing better to do than what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's amazing, mate. Congratulations. It's great to see and hear. And I want to talk about, you obviously have your course, the Barber Talk course. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what it entails and how it's structured?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so Barber Talk is something I developed myself with Dr. Peter Braitkin, who is a former Psychiatrist of the Year, and he is up at his lead suicide prevention for Southwest, done loads of work with Network Rail and RNLI. So he sat down with me and helped me develop this training. When I first did this, I got funding for a load of different training courses. So mental health first aid, assist, suicide prevention training, safe talk, all these other different training sessions. A lot of them are really quite long and they're really in depth. And when I did get some funding for some barbers to come and do one, and it was good, but it was full on, and it was very much in depth about what bipolar is, what psychosis is, what this is, what this was. And although I loved it because I'm really interested in it, I'm like, yes, tell me more, soaking it all up. I figured that the general public and general hairdressers and barbers probably don't have that much interest in it. So we wanted to try and create something that was a bit more bespoke, accessible, easy to apply, and actually worked, effective. So we based it around 4 pillars, and they are recognize, ask, listen, and help. And basically we train people to recognize the signs in their clients or colleagues or friends that something may have happened. Ask them the questions that give someone a permission to be able to open up and talk. Direct questions that we normally avoid or we're scared of asking because we're scared of the answer. And then number 3 is listen. So listening with empathy and without judgment. Not telling people I know how you feel, but letting them know, look, I don't know how you feel, but I'm here to listen. And if you want, and I'll try to understand. And finally, help, which is basically the safety net, which gives them the confidence to do the recognize, ask, and listen, is helping those people find the help they need. So we're not trying to turn people into psychiatrists or doctors or therapists or anything like that. We don't want you to prescribe or diagnose anyone. We want you to be able to listen to that person, which is often enough, but then give them some information about what resources are available. And with the hair industry, it's about bridging that gap between the communities that the hair industry serves and the resources that are available, so we can kind of signpost them off to other places. And it's been really successful. We've been running loads of them through lockdown. We've just literally got it endorsed, so the training is endorsed now, and you get CPD points if you complete the training. So it's like officially accredited training now, which is absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
And, which is great. And we've got a couple more courses coming out, but they're all sold out, which has been brilliant.
Yeah, that is amazing, mate. I was going to say, now that obviously we're in lockdown 3.0, you've obviously had to adapt your course and to deliver it online. How is that going? How's that being received?
Do you know, that's obviously at the beginning of the lockdown, the first lockdown, I was like, right, so we can't go and deliver any training. We'd had some funding from public health to go and deliver some training, and we were just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then we had conversations I spend a lot of my time speaking to people from like NHS and doctors and psychiatrists now, which I never ever imagined I would do when I started my hair career. But they were saying, "Oh, this would be great if we could get it out there. Can we redevelop it?" So we teamed up with NHS Southwest Mental Health Clinical Network, and we redeveloped, repurposed, repackaged it to make it an online course. Tested it a few times, and we got a few courses out in the first lockdown, and they were just really well received. We're just in the process of delivering another. We've done another 9 or 10 recently in the last lockdown, the little one we had, and then this one. And we're just having some data and research being done on it. And I had a phone call with them recently to say that the feedback has been absolutely incredible from the people who have taken it. So that's sort of a bit of sigh of relief for me. But actually, it's been proven really, really popular because we can do nationwide. And just have as many people on there as possible. I'm actually setting up our first one for North America in February. So
wow, that is impressive. Yeah, have you found that having to adapt your course to online has made it more accessible for people?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely more accessible. I think the fact that it's about 4 hours long, 3.5, 4 hours, depending on the group that we've got on. Some people are more talkative than others. Some people, not so much. But it's about 3.5, 4 hours. But so it's a half day. But if you were going to an event somewhere, that is a full day, isn't it? So by doing it online, you can just sign on at home, sign off when you're done, and you don't have to go anywhere. So I think that people quite like that, and it makes it great for us in the hair industry because hairdressers and barbers work all the hours like they get. I mean, most of the barbers and hairdressers, when we go back from lockdown, we'll be working 6-7 days a week, 12-hour days. So if we can slide in a 3.5-hour session on a Monday evening or something, then it's easily accessible for them.
Yeah, it's ideal. How did you come up with the structure of the course? Was it based on like your experience with that barber and client relationship, or did you have help with the way you structured the course?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was pretty much based around. Like I said, I'd done mental health first aid, I'd done a safe talk, and some other bits and pieces. And I took from that what I thought was really good. I took from that what I felt we needed, and then I had a conversation with Dr. Peter Aitken, and he kind of guided me. But he said he was very aware that he didn't want to make it too academic, or he wanted it to be in like barber language or like our language as such. But I really wanted to make sure that it was effective. That was the key thing. I wanted to make sure we're teaching people the right stuff. And the model has been so successful that this is what my next book, which is being published in 2022 with the Welbeck Publishing House, is about. Essentially, it's going to be a handbook for anybody, the general public, about how to do the 4 pillars of recognise, ask, listen, and help, which will get out there to everybody, and anybody can do it. And we're actually in the process of rejigging the training so it is less bespoke for the hair industry, so that we can deliver it to, because we've had lots of interest from other walks of life, taxi drivers, tattooists, personal trainers.
This is what I was going to say. So one of my questions was, and another reason I wanted to get you on my podcast was because as my role as a personal trainer has kind of evolved and developed, I am noticing more that, people are having those conversations with me, and I am, even though my primary job is to help coach them through improving their physical health and reaching their goals, you do build that rapport with your clients where they feel safe and they break down their walls and they talk to you about the other struggles that they're going through. And I was going to ask you, do you plan to open up the course for other professions? Because I would legit sign up for that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we want to do. And I've actually had conversations with Dean Turner about this. I've had conversations with Glenn as well about that. Glenn Bevan talking about it and saying how I think it's really, really it's a similar situation. I think any situation where you've got one-to-one, you've got close contact, you've got trust. They have to trust you. They have to trust you because they trust you to make them fitter, healthier, with a good diet, so they don't get injured. So there's a lot of trust there. And I know I've had personal trainers loads of times, and you tell them stuff, you build up a relationship. So I think anything like that, is hugely valuable, and that's something that we want to do moving forward with the Barber Talk training. We're going to remodel it slightly, take the bespoke out, and make sure it's a bit more just versatile for everything like this, so that anybody can do it really. But we're stuck on a name for it. So if you can think of a name,
oh, okay,
you can think of a name for it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a challenge for everyone watching this podcast. But that literally excites me so much, because when I was watching your program yesterday and you kept saying the words bridge the gap, and I just thought that is a massive hole in the whole mental health side of our lives. I openly talk about my mental health struggles, and I see a counsellor for them, but not everybody knows about those services, can afford those services. And I think it is really important that people that have these one-to-one connections, like personal trainers, barbers, hairdressers, have the ability to learn to communicate with people in a way that can help them. And I think it's just so amazing that you have something that is gold dust, in my opinion, that can help people. And I just think it's great. So I'm really excited to see you develop that, and maybe we can come up with a name. So I also wanted to ask you, obviously the inspiration for the name of your documentary came from some facts that you found out about suicide. Do you want to just explain a little bit about that and why it came to be that name?
Yeah, so obviously when you're coming to make a documentary, you need a good name for it. And I did quite a few interviews in the documentary. And one of the things that really, really surprised me when we were doing it was the economic impact of a death by suicide, because I was only ever, as someone who's been impacted by suicide, and obviously more so since I've just completely engulfed myself with the suicide and mental health stuff, I'd never ever considered there was a financial impact on the economy. I was always worried about the loss of the life, the impact it has on those around them. I mean, they say officially it's 20 people. Suicide will impact directly 20 people, which I think is nonsense. I think it's way more than that, because the world that we live in now, we all have an impact or a footprint probably bigger than that. But when we did an interview, they told me that the economic impact of a death by suicide was £1.7 million. I just thought, well, how can that be? And it goes into the loss of opportunities, the inquests, all the stuff that goes in the infrastructure of the blue light services, counselling, the impact from the family around them. So it's a huge impact. And 1.7 million is just a massive number, which I think is not really talked about. And I think it's not talked about because people go, well, you're putting a value on the life. And it's like, well, no, it's not. You're just saying that, look, every time someone dies by suicide, not only is it devastating for that family and the impact of those people around them, also it's a quite devastating impact on the economy. So why is somebody somewhere in government who is allowing for budgets of money and pots, why is that money, suicide's the biggest killer in under 45s. If you're under 45 and you're male, you're more likely to die of suicide than anything else.
Oh, that
so why is this not being addressed? That 1.7 million each time someone dies. I think we worked it out for 2 years ago, the statistics, and it was something like 9 billion quid. And you think, why is that money not being invested in prevention? Why is that money not being invested in? Because suicide is preventable and there is no cure. Because once you've done it, that's it. Yeah. So the whole point of that for me, a surprising thing for me, is that someone somewhere is allowing for that budget to happen. And I spend a lot of time talking to people around suicide. Anecdotally, there's no official statistics now, and I won't say who it is I've spoken to, but everyone I've spoken to around this situation has said there's the numbers around suicide and attempted suicides are pretty much doubling this year because of what's going on. And we need to have something in place to be able to help prevent these things.
Yeah, I mean, when the statistics were coming up on the documentary, it is so heartbreaking. And I do see a shift in talking about mental health, which I think is brilliant. I think we are more aware of it than we ever have been before. But I wanted to ask, since learning about how much it affects the economy and since making that documentary, have you seen any positive steps in the way that suicide prevention and mental health is funded from the government?
We've actually had a really good year with funding. I think people are starting to realise that mental health is a thing. We're having lots of good conversations around mental health. I think we're encouraging people to talk about mental health, and we're kind of talk, which is fantastic. But we haven't educated people on how to look after their own mental health, and also how to deal with if someone does talk to you, how to respond, and how to listen. Because if someone there's a lot of research been done by Dr. Brené Brown about shame, and then she said a lot of stuff around men and men opening up and talking about their mental health to the women in their lives, and the response was so bad from the women, in the sense, I think mostly because we're shocked and we don't know how to respond, and they don't mean to, but the response is so bad that it shuts the men down and makes them feel even worse. So I think it's great we're getting people to open up and talk, but that's a fantastic first step. But now we need to start to teach people how to respond, how to listen, what's available, to make sure that we keep those people safe. Because imagine if you're feeling bad and you open up and tell someone something and then they just shut you down. It could be really devastating. But on the plus side, I actually have a phone call tomorrow afternoon with a load of ministers and MPs, like a round table to discuss some stuff that we want to do, a proposal for some a support network for the hair industry. So they've got someone to talk to. So, if you're a therapist, you have your own therapist, you have to. But these hairdressers and barbers don't have anyone specifically to talk to. So we're trying to set that up. And I just want to start, have a bit of a conversation around mental health and get things going. And hopefully, I know that they know that this is going to be the big hangover from coronavirus is this mental health pandemic.
Essentially, I was going to say the next pandemic, isn't it? Essentially, inevitably, unfortunately. And in relation to COVID and lockdowns, I was going to say, with the majority of barbers now unfortunately being closed, are barbers who have completed the Barber Talk course, are they having to find ways to adapt to communicate with clients that they are obviously not seeing due to being closed?
Yeah, I mean, part of this is part of this proposal that we want to do is to include something to send out to hairdressers and barbers, and also like the booking companies, the booking apps, some copy and things to be able to encourage them to reach out to their clients. Because let's face it, the hairdressers, if we can look after the hairdressers, they can look after pretty much the entire community, the entire nation, because most people have a hairdresser or a barber. So we can reach quite a lot of people. So it's about getting them to reach out to others and encouraging that in a safe way. But when we're talking to people online, that's one of the things we talk to them about in the Barber Talk. And do you know what? It's really difficult for the clients. I had one client that came to me when we came back after lockdown, and I cut their hair for the first time, the first lockdown. And they actually broke down in tears because I was the first person to touch them physically since they went into lockdown, because they live by themselves. And you think, wow, it's so powerful and so important. We're so lucky that we don't live by ourselves, so we have that human contact, because it's essential. And I think barbers and hairdressers need to start to realise the importance they have in society and communities, and start to value themselves a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's heartbreaking, isn't it, to hear that? But I'm sure there are so many people in the same situation. And like you say, it's the easiest thing is to train the barbers, considering everybody, like you say, gets a haircut and has a hairdresser. How can people get involved with the charity? Like, can you donate? Can you, like, my Lean with Leanne crew love a charity day, so when we can all get back together again to do a bit of Zumba outside, inside, wherever, nice. I'd love to get involved and do something to raise money for the charity. So is that something we can all do?
Yeah, definitely. We've got so if you go on our website, we've got a fundraising pack you can download, and it just sort of gives you a few ideas. It's like a sponsorship form and all the rest of it. You can donate on our website. One of the big things I'd like everyone to do, if you're not a hairdresser or barber, tell your hairdresser or barber about us. And we literally just got these through the other day. So we just started this. I don't know if you can see that, but can you see it? Am I in the middle?
Yes, I can see it.
So,
that's cool.
So basically what happened, a lion's roar can travel 5 miles. So the idea is that we would set up a bit of a virtual run thing. So you run basically the idea is you sign up to our Just Giving page, you set up a sponsorship form on there, you go and run 5 miles and track it, raise 25 quid or more, and send us a screenshot on an email to info@Lions Barber Collective, and you get a medal.
Right.
So it's a little way of doing a little fundraising run thing you can do now, or with
Team
other
Leanna
people.
on it. That is it. I am setting that up. I've got 124 lovely ladies in my challenge group at the moment.
Amazing.
So I reckon that would be such a cool little community event we could do, and for such a great cause as well. Yeah, that would be so cool. I can
send you all the information if you want for that, Leanne, as well in a minute.
I've already got Sarah's popped up in my comments saying, yes, I'm up for a 5 miler. So it's happening. We're going to do it. Okay. Thanks. Moving on to some more, probably a little bit more personal questions I'd quite like to ask you now. As somebody who comes into contact with so many people that are struggling, and you hear so many stories, how do you emotionally and mentally cope with what I would suggest is quite a high pressure role? How can you switch off from it, or?
Yeah, do you know what? I think being a hairdresser or barber, I think you kind of mentally prepare yourself for this kind of thing anyway, because you have those conversations, 12 to 15 conversations a day about all sorts of different things. You move on to the next, move on to the next, move on to the next, and then you shut the door and you leave those conversations there. So I think there's kind of a sort of resilience, I suppose, built up for that. But I think that combined with the peaks and troughs of the charity, that one day it's like, since I started doing this, I've never had so many highs and lows in my entire in like a day. It'll be like, I don't know, meeting Prince William. Oh no, we haven't got the funding we thought we were going to get. We're going to go under. Oh my God, we've just got more funding than we thought we were going to get. Oh my God, something else has happened. Someone I know died of suicide. Oh, I've just got a book deal. It's literally like that all the time. So yeah, it's been pretty full on. I'm really lucky. I've got my wife. I've got a support network around me. Dr. Peter Drakekin, helps me out massively. I'm lucky. He calls himself my pet psychiatrist. So I'm really lucky to have him, because I couldn't afford to pay for him. So yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and I think it's really important to realise that you've got those people around you, and that I'm aware that I can talk to them, because I get things. I go out. I've had text messages in the middle of the night and phone calls in the middle of the night, and I turn my phone off. I do not disturb, but from numbers I don't know, saying things like, "I need to talk to you right now." The voices in my head have told me I need to talk to you. I'm ready to talk to you. And then I've tried to phone them the next morning when I get up early. But I've tried to phone them the next morning, and no answer. Text them, no answer. You think, well, who was that? What's going on? I'll go out. If I go out for a night out in Torquay, guarantee I'll have at least 3 people come up to me and know what I do and want to tell me everything, which I don't mind. I feel quite honoured that people feel comfortable enough to tell me. But my mates are a bit like, "Where have you been for an hour?"
Yeah.
And then there's other things as well. Like I had a message on Facebook earlier this year from a random person, didn't know who they were, telling me that they've had enough, they're going to kill themselves right now, all this sort of stuff. And I managed to get some of our ambassadors on board as well. We were searching for who he was online, found him online, found his mates, messages, people he had tagged and stuff. And essentially at the end of the day, we managed to keep him safe. The police went and got him. He was in New Jersey, I think, in America.
Wow.
So
in America, wow.
Yeah. Crazy. The fact that he felt that he could reach out to me, and we got the Lions ambassadors and stuff on board, and we managed to reach people that got the police to get him saved, then it's just an incredibly powerful thing.
And that is the sort of thing I can imagine that when you're having those low points, on that emotional roller coaster, that is the stuff that really makes you think, this is why I need to do this. This is what I'm doing this for.
It makes it all worthwhile. I mean, we very, very sadly, we lost one of our ambassadors, an amazing hairdresser and barber, and a really good friend of mine to suicide towards the end of last year, which was devastating for me because I spoke to him quite a lot about everything, and I knew he wasn't in a good place, but I couldn't save him. And that was quite devastating to me. And I can remember sitting, just being in the shower for like everyone, loads of people do good thinking in the shower, or whatever, bad thinking, whatever, staying in there just for ages, thinking about like, oh God, what do we do? What's the point? If I can't save him, do I even bother carrying on? I just stood there for ages. And then I don't know, just thought I went and spoke to Peter, and just he outlined a few things for me, and I realized that look, if I stop at the moment, then the whole thing stops. And then, okay, we lost him and it's devastating, but what if we say for someone else? And I know that we will, and we will have that impact. So it's, there's moments like that when you just think, what's the point?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you do have a massive impact. Like when I was watching the documentary yesterday, and you talked about Paul earlier, and there's this scene where you're sat and you're cutting his hair and he's telling his story, and he's talking about how, he sat in your barber shop and you were cutting his hair, and you could pick up on he was low and he was struggling, and you knew exactly what to say to him, and that conversation changed his life. And I was just blown away by that. And does it ever sink in when someone says to you, like, you are the reason I'm still here?
Do you know what? I had a similar conversation earlier on with somebody about this similar sort of thing. Does it sink in? Do you reflect on stuff? And I think I'm so busy. I'm so constant with lots of different things. I kind of check things off and move on to the next, check things off. That sometimes I don't really realize. And I think for me, the big part with Paul was meeting his mum for the first time, and seeing that, and seeing the impact that had on his mum, and realizing that, if he had died, that would have been horrendous. We'd all been left behind thinking, what could we have done more? Could we have not done more? But because we had that intervention, and he made the decision not to do it, he's had to go on and live with in recovery, because it doesn't fix, it goes on recovery. But all those other people are still around him to look after him and be there for him, and all that loss and sadness never happened. You just think, wow, that's actually, that impact is bigger than just me. Because sometimes we get caught up in our own little world, don't we, of what I'm doing, what's going next day. So sometimes when you have to stop and reflect on it, that's when you really have that impact, and you realize what you've done. I think when I've been writing my books, so when I wrote my second book, Barber Talk, Taking Pride in Men's Mental Health, that I wrote that mostly in airports or on planes or in hotels and God knows where, by myself. And that was really, really quite a emotional thing for me, because I was sitting down writing memoirs and what happened, and actually really thinking and reflecting on what the impact it had, the conversations we had. And I could, loads of times I was sat in a hotel room by myself crying and typing, realizing, what had actually happened, or the powerful response that I got from that was probably one of the first times I really actually thought about it properly.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to watch that documentary and see Paul's mum and how she talked about writing the letter to you, and I was like crying my eyes out. I thought, oh, that's just incredible that just a conversation that you've had with someone has not only impacted their life, but everybody in their family. It is unbelievable. I also wanted to talk about your children. Obviously, they are in the program, the little cuties, and what I loved about them being in the documentary was how you were saying, like, they were part of your driving force, and you never wanted your boys to ever feel like they couldn't communicate about their mental health. And I know, like, a lot of people watching this would be interested to know, how do you have those conversations with your children? How do you communicate about mental health to them?
Yeah, do you know what? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think as generations have gone on, we've got better at it, and I think I'm probably better at speaking about it than my parents. And I think it's really important. So, for example, last night I always put the oldest one to bed and spend time with him. Then that's our sort of little bit of time together, and we do like a sleep meditation. We listen to it together, and kids sleep meditations and stuff. But before that, I read a book, and then we have a little bit of a time to chat. And I just ask him about things, and I ask him, how are you feeling? How are you? You didn't enjoy your homeschooling today. Why was that? And just asking them how they're feeling rather than telling them all the time. It's you do have to think about doing it, obviously, and letting them know that it's okay to be sad. It is okay to be sad about that. Abel, if you didn't get what that, or I don't know, we didn't win, or you didn't. It's okay to be sad, but remember that you don't have to hold on to that feeling. And I think it's you have to be conscious of it. You do have to be conscious. And I find myself saying things sometimes, and you think I shouldn't have said that. But I think letting them know that they're safe and you're there for them, and try and be gentle with them, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it can be a fine line between being honest and open about it and trying to protect them as well. But in relation to that, do you think that one of the reasons why there is, such a big issue with men's mental health is maybe because, generationally we've conditioned boys in particular to not show their feelings and be strong and toughen up? Do you think that is a knock-on effect and has affected why men's mental health is such a big issue?
Definitely. I think that men have got really good at pretending to be okay, because the response they get when they're not isn't obviously normally not that good, because especially guys are not good at hearing their mates being about. We don't know how to deal with it. We've not been educated how to deal with it. We've not been educated how to talk to each other. We don't really go to doctors. We don't really go to hospital. The only time we go to doctors or hospital really is injuries on sports fields, fight on a Friday night. Like, other than that, blokes don't really go to. I to be honest with you, I don't even know who my doctor is. I had my surgeries merged. I had minor surgery the other week, and I had to try and find out who my doctor was, where to call them to get it all sorted out. It's a nightmare. So yeah, I don't think guys are very good at it. That's part of the inspiration for my kids' book that I've just written. I've written ages ago, about to be published this year. It was an interesting study around sports and boys and girls, and it was an American study, and it was talking about boys and girls playing baseball, and when the boys came up and they tried to hit the ball and they missed, the reaction was really negative, like, come on, you've got to hit it next time, no, you do better than that, that's whatever, really, really sort of quite negative and really over the top if they did it. Whereas the girls, if they missed, it was like, oh, don't worry, you'll get it next time, don't worry. And it was really supportive and really encouraging, and it wasn't expected to be amazing at it straight away, whereas the boys had this high expectation of this is what they should be like. So that's where I came to the idea of the book, is to sort of go around that kind of thing and letting boys know that it's okay to fail. It's okay. Failure is an event, not a person. You can, everybody fails, and the more you try, the more you will fail, but the more you will succeed as well. So I think there's lots of different lessons that can be taught. And I think, for me, that's what I want to try and do with the children's book, is hopefully if this one's a success, I've already written another 2 around different things that we can perhaps bring them out. And I think that's a case for letting kids know through reading, literature, just experiences, that it's okay to fail, it's okay to feel bad, and also things like you have control over your own thoughts and actions. You have literally no control over anybody else's. Everything outside your own thoughts and actions is completely out of your control, which is a little bit scary, because it means that anything other than you is not completely random. But at the same time, it's really quite empowering, because I have control over my thoughts and actions. So I have the ability to react how I want to your actions. So you can call me names and be horrible to me. I'll obviously be affected by it straight away, but I can choose whether to carry it with me. I can choose whether to be affected by that, and I can choose to develop myself and move on. And I can choose how to. It's like coronavirus, controlling your own thoughts. I control how much news I watch. I can only control my personal social distancing and my mask wearing. I can't control anyone else's. So don't worry about that. Worry about me. Little things like that. It's good for your mental health as well.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you touched on that point, because I think it's phenomenal that you are implementing that into a child's book. Because when I think about my journey with mental health and where working in therapy, where it gets traced back to, it's the inability for me to be able to take what other people say and other people think and react to it in a way that doesn't affect my mental health. And because I wasn't taught that has led to other issues later on in life. So I think the fact that you are putting that into a child's book is unbelievable. Congratulations on that. When is it available?
The children's book is going to be July. I'm not sure the exact date. but it's July that's coming out. So I think I've got meetings next week with the marketing people to start pushing it. So we'll
Very
be seeing stuff
exciting.
soon.
Yes, very exciting. On the subject of media and news, etc., I mean, I think it's becoming really obvious during this pandemic that the media and social media plays a large role in how we feel about ourselves and our mental health, and the amount of negative content we consume on a daily basis. Do you also think that that plays a huge role in particularly younger males and everyone's mental health?
Yeah, I think social media it's like anything. It's great, but it's evil at the same time. You think about microphones, for example. When microphone was invented, if you're a great singer, fantastic. It just projects you out to more people. If you're an awful singer, it projects badness out to many people. And that's essentially what social media is. But I think everybody is stuck at home. Everybody's angry. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's upset, and we've all got a voice now. We can all go and we can vent, and we can attack people, and we can. And I think people get consumed by it. I think it can be people are doom scrolling. I actually took all social media off my phone apart from Twitter recently, because I was just fed up of all the nonsense and opinions and fake news and links and stuff that had been shared and conspiracies. And I was just like, look, I don't need that in my life, really. And Joe, what? It's been really refreshing. I haven't missed anything. I can type and I can put things on my laptop when I'm at work that post around positive things. But I think if you can try and get to a point where you're posting and interacting with whoever interacts with you, but not scrolling, then if you find yourself scrolling, put your phone down. But I think we have this, there's a really famous saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that's so true. I think, we used to keeping up with the Joneses. We look at our neighbours, lawn greener than ours, or they got a newer car than me. But now we're looking at thousands of people from all over the world and comparing ourselves to them. And you could have the best day in the world. You could have just won an award, a local award. You just bought a brand new Mercedes and you've just got keys to a new 3-bedroom house, and you go online when you get home to post like how excited you are about it, and your mate's just won a national award, bought a Ferrari and bought a mansion. Yeah. So although your day was amazing, you're instantly gone, I wish I had. And that doesn't matter. Like, your life was you were having a really good time until you compared yourself with something else. So I think that's a really, really, it can be a fantastic thing, because at the same time, if it wasn't for social media, there's no way I would have traveled around the world cutting hair. I would have been talky cutting hair, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? That's great, but there's no way I would have been cutting hair in Brazil and Hawaii and Australia and all these different amazing places. And there's no way the Lions Barber Collective would have taken off. So it's about managing it like anything. And I think choose who you follow. If there's something you don't like, block and delete it. Don't read comments on stuff. If you post something up, someone's always going to have something bad to say. But just don't take it in. And I think if those people are out there actively attacking people, then they've probably they're probably worse off than you.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. I think as well, the trouble with comparing on social media is that the majority of it is not reality. And I think you're constantly comparing yourself to something that's not even real. So, you're just setting yourself up for failure. And I think the more people realize, like, if you can control what you're consuming, if you can, really become self-aware of how certain content is making you feel and kind of monitor that, then there's nothing but a positive impact on you. You have been, talking of media platforms, featured in some pretty big ones, including Men's Health, HuffPost, BBC News, BBC Radio. I can see a fair few awards up there on the shelf behind you. Do you feel like a celebrity?
Nah, not at all. I don't know. I think that I never thought I'd be in Men's Health. I know that. I think Dean Turner's a bit gutted I beat him to be in Men's Health, but there's it's one of those things. It's just great. It's raising awareness. I never thought that would happen. There's always, I think, because there's a point to it. There's a purpose to it. It's not just me being on something. And if you ever, I think nowadays there's a lot of success is based around fame and fortune. And unfortunately, if that's all you're ever looking for, fame and fortune, you'll never have enough, because you'll never be famous enough. You'll never be rich enough. If you make £1 million, after a few months, you're going to want 2 million quid. You're going to want 3 million quid. And the same with fame as well. If someone had said to me when I was younger that I would be in these magazines and have my haircuts on the front cover, I would have been like blown away. That'd be like the biggest thing ever. But now that kind of happens without me even realizing it, or I get editors email me and say, can we have a photo? Because you've kind of made that, you've broken that barrier down, if you know what I mean, and it becomes normal. Whereas if someone said that to me 10 years ago, I'd been like jumping through the roof. So I think if you're aiming for fame and you're aiming for fortune, you're on the wrong path. I think purpose has got to be there, because, like I say, you'll never be famous enough or never be rich enough.
Yeah, very true. And what is next for Tom Chapman? Obviously, let's say #1 child's author. Is that next? What projects have you got other than your children's book coming up?
Yes, we got that other we got the other book coming up. I mean, there's certain things I'd like to do. There's certain conversations we've been having about certain things that I probably can't say anything about. But I'd love to have a Lions barbershop. That's something that we've been talking about with Network Rail, and we're going to do some pop-ups with them, but also about taking over some of the empty shops and turning them into barbershops, because suicides on train lines are so high, and there's lots of empty shops, and we could have charity barbershops where all the barbers are trained, it's branded, it's Lions Barber Collective, it becomes a community hub, which helps sustainability for the charity. Wow. There's lots of stuff going on. I'm writing my next book. I've just started a podcast, which is going to be starting in the next couple of weeks, be launched, called Barber Talk, Tales from the Chair.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks brilliant.
Yeah, it should be good. I just had my first recording. I had Chris Kirkland on there, ex-Liverpool and England goalie.
My husband would love that then.
He's a legend, nice bloke. We've got Neville Southall, who's an ex-Torquay and Everton goalie, coming on there as well, and some professional wrestlers from America, and a few other people that I've reached out to. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really varied, and the idea is basically it's gonna be I'm cutting their hair in my virtual barbershop, and we're just having a conversation around men and mental health and all that kind of stuff. So it should be fun. There's loads of stuff going on. I've got potentially, I probably shouldn't say anything, potentially might be going on Loose Women and doing a big sort of like campaign with them for men's mental health. So fingers crossed that all comes through. But that was something we were speaking with agencies and stuff the other day. So there's loads of stuff. It's too much to really like
process
track of, really. So I mean, like sometimes you think about it, I'm like my wife always says to me, like, well, she said to me last night, she said, how do you sleep at night? I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, there's always just so much going on. It's always so exciting. And I was like, well, that's when I'm okay. I can sleep then. It's when there's nothing going on, and then I start worrying about random stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what about this? What if this happens? And start making up things in my head. But I just like being busy. I like doing lots of stuff. I know hopefully when we can get back out and about again, that's when things will be good. We want to team up with some people like WeSup, and obviously start training some other people like taxi drivers, personal trainers, all that kind of stuff. So
love it.
Let's see what happens.
It all sounds very exciting. Possible. Yeah, anything is possible. And I feel like we should give a little shout out to your wife, because she sounds like a right legend.
Yeah, she is a right legend. Yeah, Tennille, she's called Tennille Chapman. She's absolutely amazing.
Shout out.
I don't know what I'd do without her.
Oh, bless her. And because obviously I'm a PT, I should ask, training? Are you training at the moment? I think I saw like some pretty hardcore dumbbells on your Instagram.
Yeah, do you know what? I've had a real up and down, because like gym is my thing. Like I love going to the gym. I get up and I go at 5 o'clock in the morning straight away, first thing. Obviously this year it's been a nightmare. I go to the gym. That did my head in the first time. I found yoga stuff. I was doing some yoga, like DDPY yoga. I really enjoyed that. And then trying to get hold of any equipment was a nightmare, because of course everyone's at home trying to buy equipment, so everything's sold out everywhere. And then obviously I fell off a little bit towards the end of last year when I lost Sam, and then we had like some incident with the charity, some stuff going on with volunteers and that. Everything was just like, and Christmas and that. But literally I've just picked everything back up again I had a vasectomy just after Christmas. That was my Christmas present to myself. So
Nice.
I couldn't do anything for a while. So yeah, as soon as I healed up from that, I'm back to it. I'm back in the mornings. I've been doing yoga and some weights every morning, and just starting to feel better about myself again, because there's too many lockdown takeaways and
tell me about it.
Yeah, nightmare.
Tell me about it. So thank you so much for joining me today. It has been unbelievable to talk to you and have you as a guest. And I just want to say to everyone, watch the documentary. It's on Amazon Prime. £1.7 million haircut. It's unbelievable watch. And let's get the Lean with Leanne virtual 5 mile done to raise money for the charity. I'm definitely all on board for that. And the guys can check your website out and follow you on social media. What are your website addresses and social media names, etc.?
Yeah, so if you just go lionsbarbercollective.com on the website, and then at Lions Barbers, and then myself, I'm Here's Tommy on Twitter, and Tom Chapman CEO on Instagram. But like I say, if anyone wants to find out anything more about us, just give us an email. If you get info, it's the email stuff all on the internet, on their website. So go for that, email us, find out more. We want to train all the hair professionals in Devon first. That would be just ideal if we could do that, just to show to the rest of the world that, or the rest of the country, that look, every time they phone us up, they think we're in London. So it'd be great if we could do something from Devon and just really homegrown it and show that the Southwest is leading the way. Yeah,
amazing. So if you are a hairdresser, or whenever you're going to see a hairdresser after lockdown, make sure you tell them about the Lions Barber Collective and get them involved, because the more people we can help, the better. Thank you so much for joining me, Tom, and thank you for your time. It's been amazing to talk to you. And I will get my girls ready for the virtual 5 miler, because I want one of those medals on my wall.
Thank you so much. It's a real honour to be on here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I will be uploading this to YouTube as well, and I'll take the audio file and pop it onto hopefully iTunes. So see you soon, guys, and thank you so much.